Shirley Hewitt's Talis Moon, this is Mars, our soul day that is actually Jupiter night. Um, Moon is in 14 degrees Scorpio and Mars in the third house. Jupiter in the eighth house, ruled by the Moon. Venus is on the degree of the eclipse, 28 degrees Aquarius, um, and ruling the midheaven at 4 degree Libra. Ascendant and ingress to Mula Nakshatra ruled by Jupiter. Well, and Mars 29 degrees Pisces. I want to put out there a word for survivors of, okay, Epstein-like things, whether it was astral or not, whether what you remember was astral and was more or not. And I want to put a word for survivor astrologers as well. The people that cover the topic and talk about some people writing the Epstein story, or some narratives are true, some narratives are not true. Let me put it that way. Of course, there are situations where people that have genuinely been hurt publish things and actually target individuals. Of course, when there is a discussion about those things, they are targeting. Okay, for example, if you listen to me, there may be attempts, um, okay, um, because those are attempts to silence people. It's not because the nature of, let me put it that way, the nature of those things is not about which party in the politics, but to infiltrate all the parties. So much so as to manufacture all the public figures. People think, oh, it's there in politics, in media, in business. No. This could have happened to you in your work, even if it's not, a high sector. It could have happened to you. And also, there are many people that they do one thing in public, you don't know what they do, and they have to be connected with brotherhood, secret societies, fraternities, sororities, um, and that's what they do in the ranks there, because the point is to have everybody blackmailed. And I'm speaking out to the people that have been hurt by this. You're gonna hear a lot of things and you're gonna see a lot of figures beginning to try to hold on to the last bit of ambiguity around the topic. Okay? I was the only astrologer that I know that talked about MK often. Because it can be that certain of my colleagues are funded by classified projects, which means that they need to use the occult to rape, to torture, to target. Some of them are defending from that. And even more, of course, we don't know which is which. If two people are tortured, third person takes one or another's identity and throws chaos. I took a break from academia because it's so prevalently practiced here. And I said, well, at least in the astrological community or in the magic community, they speak about it. It's permeating each and every sector. Why? First of all, this type of existence is not generative and creative. It's plagiaristic and degenerative. The temples were ruined because of the ritual abuse that were happening in the temples. Okay, I've dedicated a lot of time where I talk about people like Detru or Epstein, um, and survivors like Alandra, and saying, okay, that one managed to get out, this one didn't. But I also want to put a word out there, okay, because I care a lot for the door to exit violence, but the door to exit violence is not about ignoring what happened within the cult. The other way around. And those so-called powers, I'm speaking to you, the survivors, they don't fool anyone. A lot of people had toxic relationship, something that looked like a third party and was somebody was trying to traffic somebody. Okay, in zero rape society, people can get to know themselves also relationally. Venus in Scorpio is not Venus in Taurus, is not Venus in Gemini, and is not Venus in Libra. Neither is Mars. And okay, I have a colleague astrologer that in all those energy communications, I heard him say, surely if you don't like the way of a man, you don't like the man. The way is Mars. Mars is the penis. If it's not compatible, then it's not compatible. And that's okay. But here is, in a zero rape society, it's a non issue. And by the way, before I begin to talk about, occult abuse, what is the Me Too? The Me Too is a part of Epstein. What is my job should not include abuse. It's a part of those ranks where there was humiliation right, rape right, and usually people don't stay the victim in those circles. They move on there, the pain is so terrible, and they're told that they can only heal that when they harm another person. And project that they are the victim. If people refuse to do that, they become the outcasts of society. And by the way, even people that don't refuse to do that, now they have to do that to a child. Boom, they have a flashback when it happened to them when they were a child. Now the whistleblowing. What they'll be called at is the tax offenses. That was the job at the banking where there were money laundering of traded organs of people. Drug trafficking and whatnot. Kill the people who are free babysitting. Well, I don't know about the separatist movement. I'm all for independence and sovereignty. Okay? Drug trafficking to some sort of a death through Epstein so that children could be raped on shit ton of drugs. Is that the way to independence of Kurdistan? Or Palestine? Israel is now going through its whatever it's going. Okay. The Britons did it, of course. Now people are fighting digital ID because of it. Now, what can I say regarding that? First of all, the people that are in a certain industry, let's take acting, okay, or music. They are in the industry, they're depressed because of all the things that happen in the industry. That's the thing that happens. People that are supposed to be, let's say, actors or musicians, they're not in the industry. But they are depressed because they cannot be who they are. Okay, the sun doesn't shine when there is abuse. That's such an eclipse word. That's such an eclipse word. The sun is the heart. Our ability to love. And also, you know, if people have a crowd, and now nearly every business has to have a crowd, however small, people need their 1,000 subscribers or 1,000 followers or 1,000 people in the community to be able to launch a product and pay rent or property tax. And it shows when the people are just like worshiping the guru or where it's actual community. When there is rape, is no actual community. And it is a tickling bomb. When it's covering up for some things are true, some things are not true, some things are this, some things are that, some things are boom. Okay, as a philosopher of science, when I studied the uses to create a scientific controversy as a political act on something that is clear, that doesn't have a controversy. And I want to put it out there because people think, oh, the Epstein is over there. No, the Epstein is not over there. It's the people that have been through toxic relationship. It's the people that have been harassed at work. It's all the same phenomena. You know, when an orgasm happens from willing consent, and the water is not piss. People don't complain. Nobody, hardly anyone complains about having a life Kundalini rise orgasm. Nobody complains about body, mind, heart, and soul. No. And that is not to be enslaved, siphoned, or siphoning. Venus here is a reminder. And I'm not talking about only women. In fact, the first that are hurt by the brotherhoods are men. Okay? Men or whatever Jensen hermaphrodites. I was listening to dentists talk, and they say, oh, they think dentist is such a big money. No, they have to, the university expect them to donate to the university all their lives, and they won't be able to be accepted to the university if the university didn't believe or didn't have a good reason to believe that it won't be donated again. It's bribery. And of course, as any profession, you go to study engineering, everybody knows you study in the university 3 years and then you move. I studied politics for 3 years. 3 years, 5 years. The first and second degree. Okay, politics and governance. There's nothing like that. We watched the Bilderberg group. First thing, when I ran into actual politicians, this is how I conserve my energy. And I mean the sexual energy. Nobody teaches you about that at school. The beta per se occult in the death threats to a person that may have mid-heaven beta per se. What is beta per se? The person that was raped, spoke up, got decapitated. What does this person speak about? The way to treat children and women in Islam. What is Islam? Baphomet. Are they not in those rituals? Well, but that's how. Of course, what can one do? Born into that. Does it mean everyone? Yes, everyone. Also the red, also the red, also the blue pill. Nothing you study. The railway system from Europe to China. Nobody teaches that. They tell you go read The Wealth of Nations. Of course, in dentistry is the same. This is how you go to a dentist and say, yeah, now I'm adding fluoride. No, you don't. Byproduct of the Industrial Revolution. That toxicity that causes inflammation everywhere. What happens side by side with inflammation? Cancer. Anomaly in the growth of cells. They don't teach you that. When you go to study dentistry, you can be the best student, most dedicated student. The Dentistry Room by Epstein. Now, here's another thing. It's like, oh, the people that have money can make sure that the dentist is afraid to not treat them well. Yeah, but they can also make sure the dentist doesn't treat one of their children well. Britney Spears. Or family pushing their loved one to do surgeries that are completely experimental, inhumane, and then priding themselves in the genetic um, People are dissociated themselves from the things that happen there. No, how come a child is born to a normal house in Kfar Saba? By the time they're 4 or 6, they already know about the Nazis. Nobody told them. They don't know to call it Nazis, but they've seen what they do with the ritual abuse. That's your neurodivergent children, autistic spectrum children. Because when people are that marginalized, they're so happy to be acknowledged that they really don't care for the name. And the big mass dissociation is that, yes, that's the entire society, rich and poor. Okay, shout out to Douglas McIntyre and Annika Lucas podcast. They were not a rich family. When people envisioning coming out of the cult, they're envisioning the warm embrace of society. It's like, oh, you sobered up from these dumb fucks. They don't envision entire humanity gone kaput. When I say zero rape society, zero slavery society, it looks like, oh, an abolitionist. Yeah, we had those. So now you have Epstein in the most esoteric, literally, sectors. And the most not esoteric sectors. Why does a cashier on the 9/11 cashier in the 9/11? Why does a cashier in 7-Eleven, okay, can't pay their rent or property tax or gas for their RV? Where the money went? How is the business model of 7-Eleven? I don't know who owns that place, but how is the business model is such that the employees are homeless and everyone's just okay? The only society where such things happen is society where everybody had to do something aside of the job, and they don't talk about that. Why did women not have equal rights as men? The wife comes to work, they buy a little bit of food, comes to gossips with people. The husband makes the living. Yeah, how two, three, 4 children? How come? I'm a single person. If I go for a working class restaurant to have a salad or to have a pasta, where's the money? I'm one person, and then back then my mama was living with my mama. Living with my mama, if I was a single parent, would be the less expenses. Okay, less. If I was a single parent, it's less expenses than if I was a single parent. But let's go back. Why did my mama was not able to work? Well, had post-trauma. Okay, that was when I was about to cross that threshold. And now it's intergenerational post-trauma. In every sector, the best sector, the high-tech sector, the most casual work sector. This is the grand missing. Women came out of being trafficked. The ladies that were supposed to help them, the red umbrella ladies, traffic photos of their feet in some feet finder or something. I'm not joking. Put them to blacklist because they want to re-traffic them. But think it's not going to go boom? Billions of ladies. That was their ticket as a so-called feminist. You can be a feminist. You can have a position. You can have a high-ranked top position if you defend the Epsteins. Now, those things happen on real estate, some real estate. People don't have lawns anymore. Okay, what are they gonna, they're gonna sit there with the family, the dog playing in the garden, and then somebody being raped in the other monastery. Children going missing. Okay, Detro kidnapped the children himself. And everything is information. It's not about changing our profile pictures to Clippy. And really, shout out to Clippy. I really appreciate the Clippy revolution. We're not even supposed. The next phase for changing our profile picture online to Clippy is to put a tent on when we walk outside. Men and women. I don't know if the Ku Klux Klan was because they have this. They were hiding their face. Um, it's a it's a First Nation problem, an indigenous problem as much as it's an elite problem, poor problem as much as it's rich problem, um, casual working sectors problem as much as it's public working sectors problems. Yeah, they had an anti-NATO demonstration in Italy because they want their human rights. They want the social rights. Israel almost did that. Okay, I saw Maloney looks at them. Are they not raping children? They're not sacrificing people. Where were they at the Me Too? Okay, okay. Prime Minister Maloney actually was trying to come up with a way that people that are pedophiles would be castrated and be able to go back to society because, like, otherwise the jails would be too crowded. But if the pedophilia is manufactured so that they could be blackmailed, I don't know if we tend to. I don't know if castration curates, but um, by the way, the anti-NATO, the most I can say, this is Chiron going on the Raoul Lilith of NATO. Because I was wondering yesterday, I was like, is that Neptune doing all that? Um, Neptune is conflict. Inside of Aries is conflict, and it can also be Neptune itself can be social rights or social welfare. Inside of Aries, people are fighting either for social welfare, or um, or even against. No, Neptune, by the way, is also psychiatry, and remember the myth of psychiatry in the British East India, where they use that to create a national identity and preserve the class system in Britain. Yeah, that was my first degree essay. Um, by the way, in politics, there was this saying that there was this discussion about Hitler. Um, yes, Churchill. I don't remember who else saying kind of like who would you prefer, and they would present Hitler as this vegan or vegetarian. Yes, non-smoking. Okay, first of all, the presentation is off. Hitler raped children. Yeah, he was within those cults, which means that they were raping one another. He was so high on amphetamines, was drugged up as fuck. Okay, and probably he had to eat meat as well. Okay, baby meat, not baby meat, I don't know, but okay, would have been on Epstein list. I think the biggest disappointment on Epstein list is Hitler would have been there. And they would look at Churchill as, yeah, he liked women. What does mean liked women? Also, Epstein liked women. Yes, very young women. Liked alcohol. I was getting a refund for a vetiver that I ordered a year ago, and my phone was stolen. Um, there were a shit ton of assassination risks, and the people that talk about it. So I think they were trying to actually get also Bibi Netanyahu back then. And I'm like, that's not gonna help. They need to take it down from extortion calls. They can replace the person. Um, so it's the extortion call that creates the political assassination and the assassin that they need to trust. Anyway, um, but I say nobody teaches that in politics. Just the way nobody teaches that in dentistry. There was a dentist room at the Epstein. How many dentists had to did their apprenticeship there on cameras with children? What would they be extorted to do? Okay, you don't need to extort dentists to put fluoride in the mouth of people. That you just teach them that this is that this is good for caries or something. They don't have time to check it, and they don't have accessible anything that would counter that opinion. How do they don't have accessible the actual? Oh, for that you need them to be at the Epsteins. It's scary. You talk about teeth, the dentistry. Yes, it's scary. That's why dentists can't make ends meet. Why? They want them doing other things. I mean, so dentists can't make money out of dentistry. What will the astrologer say? Okay, let's get real. Is why did I talk about currency for 3 years? I said the world is changing. They're changing the currency. In this changing world, let's say I give an astrological reading. How do I charge? How do I charge in a way that takes into account that this is my vocation? I want to live a life. All of this thing which I call disability amounts to the ailments that my body and mind produces when I don't live a life. I know that I'm a holistic health practitioner. And I became that because every place where there was corruption, I couldn't do corruption. I got inflammation-based disease. Okay, Neptune is in the sign of inflammation. Neptune rules holistic medicine and medicine. Do you think that there is no technology that can, there's technology that can regrow teeth? I don't know, that can totally, I met a person that had, I'm an astrologer, not a dentist, yes. But I met a person that had a rare disease where they would continuously grow teeth and they had to get surgeries all the time. We're coming from Chile. I don't know if it's um, something that's been there or so there is a Japanese thing that can continuously grow teeth. That stuff can get messed up really quickly, and we can't really rely on having the data to show us if that's a Russian roulette or not administering that bill. Do you think that there is no technology, okay, to do your root canal pain-free? Now, but let's talk about that from a holistic perspective. But we need to understand why do you need to do that root canal, okay? And that's already my job. The doctor's job is to diagnose and so on. The holistic health practitioner is to understand, regardless of the medical conditions that the doctor can diagnose, when did it happen? Why did that happen? What was happening politically at the time? Socially at the time? The structure of living. Because the doctor could say, well, eat more greens. Yeah. Yesterday in Israel, a guy walks down the street, two men try to sell him drugs. He said, I don't do drugs. They set a tortured dog, and it's always this brand of dogs that's controversial. Now the dog brand is going to suffer, to attack him over nothing. It was like, I'm not doing drugs. You're selling drugs. Fantastic. I'm not doing drugs. So basically what he needed to do was to buy the drugs anyway and try to tell the police, hey, these people were selling me drugs. I knew if I tell them no, they're gonna attack me. Now, they got my money. You can see me as an insider of the police because I don't want the drugs. Here are the drugs. Now, what would the police do? The police are the ones trafficking the children. Not all of them, of course, not all of them. Are the ones that don't able to do something about the ones that do? Why did they take Giselle's case in France so many years? Macron like, I got enough problems, thank you. That was before Macron. It was actually exposed during Macron's time. By the way, I talked about it. They always give the politicians, they extort to do something that the person wouldn't want to do that. It goes against their interests. Um, okay, reducing public housing for the person that lives alone, that needs to live alone. Um, yeah. So of course it's reaching all the sectors because you see you can't run a business without having an interface with, let's say, even taxation. Wait a second. Yeah, but I can't. Thank you. Anyway, um, and that means that if an organization needs to trust, it's the government. No, it's what trusts the government. Otherwise, I don't know how the taxation in the United States is working so weird that people are trying to give up their citizenship. Um, I got caught on time before I would move into an LLC. People around me were, around COVID, people around me were buying houses, moving to LLC, and now, a millennial. I always taught how to manifest and manifest, and I said, amazing, amazing. I'm happy for them. I'm happy for them. Probably I'm next, and then boom. um, it was beyond a terrible thing. But these other folks they got to buy the house. They got to get into a mortgage. They got to move to LLC. They got to prepay taxes that they won't be able to return. Now, if I'm an LLC, I paid a lot of money, I can get a refund. But where does the money go? To de-business me, because they would want me to be an informant. Every client, there's no such thing as a private conversation. Never been. And then the clients get targeted. Then I have to do stuff to the clients. Okay, like I talk about the hand, between the bloody hand, the hand and the blood. Okay, the distance gets the people that studied. They didn't move to the interface with the real estate, whether it was law consultation or whatnot. Not because they're not competent, but because of the distance between the head and the blood was too. Okay, they couldn't with the blood. It's like, oh, but your name is Youngblood. I don't think you know Dutch families. Okay, but Dutch families, they expect you to go along. Now, here's the thing. That with such a thing, it's like. By the way, it's not just the Dutch side. Um, I don't I don't ask for money where I don't know what people had to do to get that money, okay? Because people are always looking for people they can trust. But we understood what trust is reliant upon. And so, and I had bosses that were intelligent, so to speak, addicted to gamblings and then the business not running because the money goes. Then what happens? I did not agree to have a business as a money launderer. I was not allowed to work. And it was because I was like, what do they want? I'm not that scary. I can barely work. I'm a Taurus, so I need my rest and work balance. Um, Incompatible for nearly every sector of work. Like, I'm not the one who's going to pose a competition to this astrologer or to, you know, and whichever business I'll run is going to be Gen Z friendly, so people are going to have their own brands within it or their own brands in interface with it. Like, I'm not the scary person because I don't allow those infiltrations. The reason I was willing to open a business is because I didn't want to do with corruption. It made me sick. And if it made me sick, it's probably because it was more corrupt than I thought. One time I was at a sales call center for holistic medicine. And people put me there because they knew I can't stand corruption. And then the lady at the cashier for the HMO, she wouldn't let the older people in. And I was calling her. I was like, "What's up? It's their rights, and so on." And she tells me, "Shirley, you don't believe what they do. They have a doctor there. They take people, older people, sometimes don't even speak well the language. They close the door on them. They lock the door until the person signs a set of things that they will never use." And I'm like, they managed to ruin a pizza. Then people come out helpless. It's their money. Elderly people don't have. They don't even know what is this thing that they're signing. It's like signing an invalid NDA. Not like they managed to ruin a pizza. Okay, the product is excellent. They have managed to sell a good product in a way that is. I couldn't make another call. Of course, inflammation kicks in. Okay. Yeah, that's the problem with me. I know. I have a lot of potential. Um, okay, of course, the same with astrology. If I give an astrology reading to a person who's about to run to municipality, okay, publicly I got to do that in a group once. And I see which policies this person would be remedial for the chart of this person. Let's say they have, I don't know, fourth house ruler in the 12th, house in first, independent of ability to work. They're probably going to need that. Patient sovereignty, depending on what the house is. If it's, I don't know, a 12th house where a person could be in disability that harms their ability to be sovereign, then something that tends to the corruption of apotripsy. Okay, those are the policies that would be remedial to the person's chart and their mental health or physical health and so on. Then I know what they would be trusted to do. I'd wait about a month. Wait a second. I have the same problem anyway. Um, yeah, the known in public. The known in public. I had the same problem. I was living for 5 years together with a friend, and we both had to be cautious because he would want his family, I would want my life. If we would be living longer, we could have been known in public, and known in public, it affects the money transference. Um, yeah, more things to say. So I think that I've managed to present how those Epstein issues affect every single working sector, resident sector. Okay, not just the upper echelons, not just this economy or politics, but everyday life, and how they're rooted in common people's ritual abuse problems. Okay, it's not just the people over there. Okay, Douglas McIntyre, they were not a rich family. .336, and I'm not the only one making noise. Okay. Anyway, um, as long as everybody in a good mood, everything's fine. Yeah, it's 3:37 a.m. You're not mistaken. By the way, in this region, they talk about the crime in Arab society. And they say Falcon, if you don't treat, they don't say Falcon, but if you don't treat, if you don't treat that, the Arabs are screaming to treat that, and say if you don't treat that, yeah, people are shit for scared. It's true. It happened in France as well, in Europe, cities that were conquered, um, and you can't treat that because then they say you're doing a genocide. Um, I'm not. No, I'm not talking about Israel. Um, Talking about Europe. And then they say if you don't treat it, it will reach the non-Arab society. So we have probably the first proof of that. Falcon, I don't know. At least they have good music. I mean, I don't know. Yeah. So, by the way, the working condition at the public transportation were bad. So now they have Orthodox Jews there, and most of the ticket checkers are women. That's going to be, let's just say, we all gonna need to take a hike. Um, so, if you have been dealing with one of those things, which probably you have been, and been wondering that too, that too, that too, okay, all of them. And you can watch my Spirit of Matter channel with the latest video. You understand what happens. And as you just immediately saw, I'm still dealing with that. Um, like I said, I'm not an organized person, and I get inflammation and rage when there is corruption. So I could talk about the right to exit violence, but there has to be. Now here's the thing: if everybody wants out of that, um, so I remember back at the Me Too, they were telling a woman that litigated the university, no, that woman was not me. I did something else. I talked about the branding of the university and how we should, with innovation, tackle